I said recently that I've been hearing people fretting that if their startup can't attract a SPAC or go public in some way soon, they're afraid people will think that their startup is doomed and not likely to live very much longer. Conversely, I said on Clubhouse recently that this is often how bubbles pop. If enough garbage goes public via SPACs, someday investors will look around and realize that a lot of them were never going to be profitable companies to begin with because they were garbage, and then everyone that went public as a SPAC gets tarred by the same negative brush. That's what happened for sure in the half-decade or so after the dotcom bubble, when a bunch of trash went public via high public IPOs. But I think the truth about the current tech stock bubble generally, and especially SPACs, is really something in between, i.e., a lot of companies that will probably end up being successful are just taking advantage of the SPAC momentum and the super low barriers to public money to raise a ton of capital, and that will probably give them better odds of success because why not? If people are willing to give you their money on super generous terms, why not take it? This is what I'm talking about. Quantum computing startup IonQ, which we've mentioned several times for various reasons, plans to go public via a $2 billion SPAC merger in a deal that will make it the first publicly traded company focused on quantum computing tech. So, forget about companies SPACing before they've generated $1 in revenue. Forget about companies SPACing before they've even produced a product. This is a company SPACing based on the promise of a technology that hasn't been proven yet. But at the same time, assuming quantum computing is going to be a big thing in the future, if you're IonQ, why not take this cheap money to help make sure that if it does become a thing, you're going to be the leader in the space, quoting the Wall Street Journal. IonQ is competing against several companies such as IBM, Microsoft, Alphabet, and D-Wave Systems, trying to commercialize quantum computing using various technological approaches. No scalable commercial-grade quantum computer has been built yet. But by 2023, 20% of global organizations, including governments and companies, are expected to budget for quantum computing projects, up from less than 1% in 2018, according to Gartner. So if this SPAC deal goes through, IonQ will have raised $734 million in funding since its founding in 2015, including $300 million through its planned merger with DMI Technology 3, that's the SPAC, and another $350 million in private investment funding from Hyundai, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, an investment organization led by Bill Gates and focused on mitigating the effects of climate change, and others. The company also has raised $84 million in venture capital funding. The money raised from the transaction will be used to help IonQ manufacture a quantum computing machine that works at room temperature and is about the size of an Xbox video game console. IonQ expects the device to be completed in 2023, end quote. So maybe we need a new podcast wager? Forget real self-driving cars by 2020. How about real quantum computing by 2023?